Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over Faerie Fire. I'm going to show you what it does, how to use it, and when to buy it. So Faerie Fire is 65 gold. It's very cheap, and that's because it's a basic item, but it's also a consumable item. So all these items under here in consumables, when you use them, they disappear. They're basically one-time use items. Now, they might have a few charges or something, like a tango gets 3 charges, but every time you use that charge, it disappears. Or same thing with bottle, it doesn't disappear completely, but you have to refill those charges all the time. Or something like Agnum's Shard, it disappears, but technically you get the buff after you buy it. But still, all of these items get consumed when you use them. They usually give you something like health, mana, or have some other kind of effect. So Faerie Fire actually gives you 2 damage when you just have it sitting in your inventory passively. So that means that when you buy this item in the early portion of the game, you get that 2 damage buff for the laning stage, and that is part of the reason that you buy it, but mostly you buy it for this active component, which instantly restores 85 health. So this can be very, very effective in the laning stage, especially for mid heroes or supports, to just bait people into diving you for that one last hit, and then you pop a Faerie Fire, and now you need another hit or 2 to actually get killed. And this can really, make people get out of position, or if there's 2 mids and they're like fighting each other to the death, gives you that extra little bit of health to get 1 or 2 more hits off and actually win the trade. It can be huge in very specific circumstances, especially early on in the game. This 2 damage is great, and then that extra 85 health is also great as well in those very close calls. Now, in terms of how to actually use Faerie Fire, it's really straightforward. You just buy it. Now it's in your inventory. You can see I get this +2 damage from just having it passively there. And that's great in the early portion of the lane, especially for mid heroes like Storm, just to win those last hit battles and trades. And then if you get down to low HP and you're just fighting to the death, then you can just use the Faerie Fire, wherever it is in your inventory, whatever that hotkey is, you just press it, and then boom, you instantly get that 85 health restored. And that's a lot of health, especially early on in the laning stage with a hero like Storm, a typical mid hero that has only 582 health. That's a lot of health early on in the game. And then obviously with this 52 damage, you can see that most heroes in the game don't do 85 damage early on in terms of right clicks. So that 85 health then, plus obviously you have to factor in armor and stuff like that, you usually have to get a couple more clicks out to actually kill you when you pop that Faerie Fire. So that's a lot of health early on to win those trades, win those battles with the enemy, especially 1v1s, or even as a support. If you're running away, it's the last second, somebody wants to dive tower to kill you. If they didn't know you had a Faerie Fire, and then you could just pop it really quick. Now they're diving the tower, they're getting hit by a tower, now they're in a bad position, and you could turn the kill really effectively as well. So that's pretty much how you use Faerie Fire. Really straightforward and simple, but you need to wait till the last second, just bait people in. It's a great baiting item early on in the game. Now, in terms of heroes that like to buy Faerie Fire, pretty much any mid can buy the item just because it does help with last hitting and trading and all that kind of stuff, and obviously those one-on-one fights. But any intelligence hero is going to benefit from it a little bit more than, let's say, a strength hero, just because that 85 health is a larger percentage of their overall HP, so it can be really, really effective on intelligence heroes. But still, any mid can buy it. And that doesn't mean that all other heroes can't buy it. You can have a lot of supports that are intelligence heroes that have low HP pools. It's really good on them as well, especially if they're a right-clicking harass support. You can buy it on an offlane or even a carry if you want to. It's just a little bit less popular on those heroes because they like to buy other stat items in general just to get the benefit of all stats. So instead of buying a Faerie Fire for that 65 gold, you might buy, a branch, or you might even just buy 2 branches instead of the Faerie Fire. I know that's a little bit more expensive, but still, you get what I'm saying. A lot of carries or offlane just like to go for stats a little bit more than Faerie Fires. It's mostly a support and mid item. So it's really more about position and what you're doing in a specific game than actually hero specific, because anyone can really buy it. It's just more for mids and supports. And then lastly, I usually talk about how and when to build the item, but building it is super simple. You just buy it. It just sits in your inventory. It doesn't build into anything. There's nothing that builds into it because it is just a lone item that is very cheap and a consumable item that you're going to be buying before the first 10 minutes, usually at the start of the game with starting gold, but you can buy it a little bit later on in the game if you want. If you have one in your inventory that you use relatively early, let's say you use it even at the rune fight, you can go back and buy another Faerie Fire a little bit later, 1 minute into the game with starting gold, just to have extra damage and extra heals in the laning stage. But after 5 minutes even, you're probably not buying this item very much. And definitely after 10 minutes, you shouldn't really even have it in your inventory. You can either sell it or use it just for some regen in the lane or just to stay on the map a little bit more or something like that, because that 2 damage and that 85 health doesn't really help the more damage you get, the more health you get, as carries and mids start to get more damage. That's really not that significant of a heal later, so you're not going to be using it for any kind of burst heal later, and that damage is really, really not very good, especially for taking up an inventory slot like I mentioned. And that, everyone, is Faerie Fire. I hope this helped you better understand the item and when to buy it. As always, guys, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.